Last week, we talked about the disciples seeing Jesus and it not being the Easter they had expected. In John 20, we get one perspective, but Luke 24 gives us another. Here's where we hear about the road to Emmaus and how the men on the road knew Jesus was real when he had bread with them. And then they returned to tell the disciples before this encounter that we read about last week in John 20, and now is being talked about in Luke 24. Here's what it says. The disciples were still talking about this, meaning the men to Emmaus, when Jesus himself suddenly stood among them. He said, "May peace be with you." They were surprised and terrified, and they thought what they were seeing was a ghost. Jesus said to them, "Why are you troubled? Do you have any doubts in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. And it's really me. Touch me and see. A ghost doesn't have bones or body like you see that I do." After he said that, he showed them his hands and his feet, but still they didn't believe it. They were amazed and filled with joy. So Jesus asked them, "Do you have anything to eat?" And they gave him a piece of cooked fish. He took it and he ate it in front of them. Now, Peter had seen him, as had the women, as had the men on the road to Emmaus, but until they saw him eat the fish, they still doubted. Jesus then, according to Luke, says to them, "This is what I told you while I was still with you. Everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must come true." Then he opened their minds so that they could understand the scriptures. And he told them, "This is what is written. The Messiah will suffer, and he will rise from the dead on the third day. His followers will preach in his name. They will tell people to turn away from their sins and be forgiven. And people from every nation will hear it, beginning at Jerusalem. You have seen these things with your own eyes. I am going to send you what my Father has promised. But for now, stay in the city. Stay there until you have received the power from heaven." After all of that, Jesus says, "You're commissioned to go. You're called to reach others. You're going to change the world, but you aren't ready yet." I can imagine Peter wanting to argue that point. How about you? That we have to get what God has called and commissioned us to do. First, we need to start right now, right? We want to start this minute, and yet there is a divine command to wait. Are you willing to wait for God's power, or are you ready to move out on your own power? We are certain that we don't know what coming back means and how long coming back will take before we can fellowship together and meet without restrictions. And the disciples must have felt like that between Jesus rising from the dead and Pentecost, where he just pops in now and then, but not saying how long it will be. The disciples are told to wait in Jerusalem and wait and wait. It ends up, they don't know how long it's going to be, but it ends up being 50 days from Easter to Pentecost. And Pentecost for us isn't until May 23rd, and we wait. So my prayer for us this week is this: may we be patient, and may we all have the grace to believe and be obedient and wait on the Lord. I am waiting with you and eager to see the power of God empower our ministry as we return.